Hello and welcome to the Second Tier Podcast. I'm Ryan Dilks and I'm joined by the Wayne Rooney to my John Eustace. It's Justin Peach.
Good day to you, Ryan.
Good day to you, Peachy. Good Christmas?
It's been good. It's been nice and chilled, not too hectic as it usually is. It's been good. How's yours been? How's your Christmas been?
Mine was good. Mine was really good, actually. It was a bit different because I had quite an uncomfortable sensation going on with me over the Christmas period. So on Christmas Eve, I got my hair cut, and the barber halfway through said, "Do you want a nose wax?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, go on then. That was a mistake. It was one of the most painful experiences of my life. He may as well have just punched me in the nose because it was awful. And then for the past few days, my nose has just not only been absolutely immaculately hairless, but quite uncomfortable because I've not been used to this sensation.
I did not expect that at all. I mean, your face is always quite hairy, as listeners will well know. You've got a big bushy beard usually, and it has been. I can see it has been trimmed, but I never usually look as deep into your face as your nostrils. So yeah, I mean, fair play. You've gone there. You've got in there. You've got in full pelt. That is an incredible effort. But why did you feel conscious about your nose hairs, or was it just a convenience?
I just thought, you know what, it's Christmas, and I'll treat myself. And it wasn't a treat at all. It's been a strange few days having no hair in my nostrils. And every so often I'll just put a couple of fingers like either side of the middle of my nose and just be like, oh, there's no hair there.
I'm bald as a nostril. I'm bald as a nostril.
Exactly. Well, I hope everyone else listening had a good Christmas, whether you celebrate it or not. Welcome to the number one championship podcast, the Second Tier. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. We're here to talk about the Boxing Day fixtures in the Championship, and what a Boxing Day it has been at both ends of the table. Some massive results, of course. Ipswich v Leicester, which we'll get on to very shortly, pretty much as big as it gets in the Championship, isn't it? But a huge shake-up at the bottom of the table as well. So we'll go through all the games from Boxing Day, then we will finish off with our predictions and Scott High or Ryan Lowe right at the end of the show. We'll begin with the first meeting of the season between the two pace setters in the Championship, Ipswich v Leicester, and it finished 1-1 after a 93rd minute own goal by Yannick Vestergaard. We have got to remember these two record-breaking starts in the Championship. Of course, Leicester won more points after 23 games than any other team in the division, and Ipswich were not far behind them in terms of the record-breaking start, weren't they? So the first meeting of these two this season's been waiting for it, haven't we, Justin? And it finally got it, and what a dramatic end to this game. I mean, in terms of just the tension and the action, I loved every single minute of it.
Well, when we talk about drama, we've had a penalty shout, we've had late equaliser, we've had Ipswich almost control and dominate the game in terms of chances, and Leicester not really getting into gear, and obviously Leicester take the lead against Rotherham play. There's a lot to this game that just almost lived up to expectation, even though it was a 1-1 draw. I guess maybe viewers of the game may have expected a 3-3 wonder game, but in terms of a tactical battle as well, this was top because it's two best tacticians in the league this season as well, in Kieran McKenna and Enzo Maresca. You've got style of play over functionality. It was a really, really good battle.
Yeah, can I just get one of my cliches out of my big bag of cliches? Great advert for the Championship. It was. And the limbs at the end as well. I mean, Ipswich will be feeling like this was a win for them, wasn't it, against arguably the best team we've ever seen at this level, and so for them to get something from it, massive thing for them. But I mean, it was a deserved equaliser, wasn't it? Leicester just didn't control the game well enough in that second half, and it felt like an equaliser was coming, and Leicester have missed a golden opportunity to go 9 points clear.
Yeah, they have, and I don't think it's the end of the world. I mean, how many teams come away from Portman Road with a point, let alone 3 points? So it's certainly going to feel sore because they were leading so late. But Ipswich, they needed to get the goal because they needed to give the stadium a lift. It's so late, and again they needed to bounce back from that really poor defeat against Leeds. So to come away with a late equaliser is massive. But from a Leicester point of view, Did they do enough across the 90 minutes to win it? Not really. They need to start games faster because that's a big issue for them. And if they do, they will put teams, or any team in a division, away quite comfortably. But it wasn't to be, and Ipswich showed the character that they showed for the majority of the season by getting back into it so late.
Yeah, and Ipswich had so many good opportunities to shoot just before that and didn't take them. I mean, Nathan Broadhead, one of the most trigger-happy players in the division,
exactly,
just refused to shoot. And I've got no skin in the game, but I was just shouting at my TV repeatedly in the final 20 minutes, shoot! And my neighbours must have thought I had gone absolutely mad. So, of course, the equaliser was very unlucky from a Leicester perspective, but they didn't help themselves with some very loose passing. For some reason, they kept just playing crossfield passes between the fullbacks. And it's like, why are you doing this? But does this result mean much in the grand scheme of things? Probably not. Obviously, it's a huge meeting between these two because they have been two of the best teams we've ever seen after these first 23 games. But, I'd still be quite shocked if Leicester didn't go on to win the league quite handedly. They could have made the job a lot easier for themselves if they just saw this game out, though, couldn't they? There was a penalty claimed by Leicester for a foul on Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall just before the goal as well. Was that a pen for you, Peachy?
It was. For me, it was a stonewaller. I think Burgess has got a lot of ground to make up. He's coming in from a fair distance, and he's coming in at a pace, and he's not pushed. He's barged Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall completely off the ball, and he's quite poor. The ref has missed. It's a big game as well. It's a big game. You've got to get that decision right, and obviously Leicester come away with the 3 points, and enhance their lead at the top of the table if they get that penalty and put it away. Not the case. Ipswich got back into it. So yeah, from a Leicester perspective, you're going to feel very, very bitter that wasn't given.
Yeah, it was a penalty. I'm not sure I'd go as far to say stonewaller. I think it's probably a category down. But yeah, it was a penalty. I think the referee was perhaps a bit blindsided from where he was standing because there was Wolfenden who was stood in the way. But still probably
VAR,
was a penalty.
VAR.
Just don't say that dirty word around here. Whatever the case, a great result for Ipswich and a great way to bounce back after taking a bit of a hiding against Leeds just before Christmas. We have got to remember the difference in resources between these two sides. Leicester starting 11 for this game cost £121 million. Ipswich's cost £8 million. So for Ipswich Town to be anywhere near Leicester City in the league, and let alone arguably outplaying them in this game, is just remarkable.
Yeah, it is. I think outplaying them might be a bit of a strong word. I think it's a decent debate to have. Arguably, yeah. Arguably, they were the better side, I think would be the better way I'd phrase it anyway. But, you're a Shakespearean, Ryan, you know better, of course. But I think going back to the costs of the teams and the record-breaking starts, these two sides, Leicester, you'd expect it. A team that costs £121 million, you expect them to be at the top, which is maybe why you wouldn't underrate the job that Enzo Maresca's doing, to lay a point to a previous debate that we've had. But Ipswich cost £8 million. So for them to have a record-breaking start as well, one of the record-breaking starts, or in that conversation, I think is absolutely remarkable and incredible. And for them to bounce back the way they did it against Leeds from the Leeds game, because that really was a dreadful, dreadful display. Just goes to show how good Kieran McKenna is at his job. You always got to look for a reaction when you suffer any defeat, let alone a heavy defeat to a promotion rival. So for him to get that team going and play better, will be the better side against the table toppers, Leicester, I think is a really good indicator of how good a coach Kieran McKenna is and how much quality is actually in this team, despite its measly figures.
Well, we have got to remember as well, like, people will look at Ipswich, coming up from League One and be thinking, well, they must have moved heaven and earth in the transfer window. But they didn't really, did they? They didn't really sign many players in the summer. Who they got? Jack Taylor, George Hurst. I mean, George Hurst was on loan there last season anyway. Brandon Williams, Axel Tuanzebe. They didn't go crazy in the transfer window, did they? And it's not. They haven't really been on the kind of similar path to Brentford and Luton, where their recruitment was just absolutely spot on. Their recruitment hasn't been bad by any means. They just haven't been as busy as you might think. What has been the key to their success has been Kieran McKenna just being a fucking good coach. And that's, we talk about him quite a lot on this show, and I imagine neutral fans are probably getting quite annoyed about us talking about him all the time. But there is a reason why we do it, because the main reason for Ipswich's success this season is him just being a fantastic manager who's getting players playing above their level. You've got lads like Massimo Luongo, Sam Morsey, who are the wrong side of 30 now, not really played in the Premier League before in their career, and now playing like Premier League midfielders. You've got others like Connor Chaplin, Wes Burns, for example, players who have been pretty much Football League players, but mid to late 20s, and they are also playing like some of the best attackers in the division. It's absolutely remarkable, and it's all down to Kieran McKenna managing to get these players playing above their level, and he's got them playing above their level quite a few levels, hasn't he? Because it's just ridiculous what we're seeing with Ipswich this season.
Yeah, it's not particularly a surprise though, let's be honest, because the trajectory they were on last season in League One. They're a great side. And the point you make about Sam Morsey and Massimo Luongo and the signings that they've made over the past couple of years, how have they played for teams? How often have they played for teams competing for the playoff places in the Championship or the top end of the Championship? Sam Morsey played for Wigan, Middlesbrough, not particularly at the time he was playing for them. They weren't chasing promotion. Massimo Luongo, Sheffield Wednesday, QPR, again, not promotion chasing sides for Championship. These are players who have had to step up and step up again. So they've stepped up to the Championship, and now they're having to step up again to be a promotion contender within the Championship. It really is a huge task, and Kieran McKenna is fulfilling it and more, and then some. It's incredible.
Yeah, he really, really is. Well, Leicester stay top of the table on 59 points. Ipswich 6 points behind them in second. We don't have to wait as long for the return fixture in this one. They play each other again in the league in just under a month's time. So we have this mouth-watering fixture again on our plates very soon. And let's crack on with the rest of the teams looking for automatic promotion. Preston 2, Leeds 1. It's a very Leeds thing to do, to smash their direct rivals for promotion 4-0 and then lose to a Preston side who had just won 3 games from 16 a few days later. Justin, what was Ilan Meslier doing? He was sent off early in the second half for pushing Militon Asmaic in the face. Why would you do that, Ilan? Why?
He's being a very, very silly man. I mean, it's the reaction of a young man who didn't get his Lynx Africa this year, isn't it? That's what it is. I'm still reeling from the lack of gift set on Christmas Day from a grandparent. I do think Asmaic shouldn't be going down the way you did, but at the end of the day, if you put your hand in the face of the opposition, you're asking for a red card. He's
bought the red card there, hasn't he, Asmaic? He's like, oh, you're doing that, are you? Well, I'll just do this then, and see you later, Ilan. And I've got to say, I was a bit surprised when Leeds got their penalty, and I looked to see who was taking it. Is that Pascal Struijk? Why is the centre back taking them? How's this happened? I had a look.
Anyone but Bamford, that's what it is.
Well, I had to look. That was the first penalty he's ever taken him, but he scored it. So fair play. We said after the Ipswich game that win will be pointless if they fail to win at Preston on Boxing Day, and that's what's happened. They're not going to catch Ipswich, Justin. If they keep dropping points in games, they have to be winning like this, are they?
Yeah, and I think this is the key point that you've got to get across. That it's not about the points. Well, no, it is about the points. Getting points on the board is important, but it's about momentum. It's about consistency. It's about the psychology of bearing down on that top two. It's making that mark, because that really was a damaging defeat for Ipswich, and they bounced back. They played quite well against Leicester. Leeds didn't replicate their intensity or their quality in that game from the Ipswich game in this Preston fixture. They didn't. They lacked that certain edge that they had against Ipswich, and you can't be doing that. And as I say, you've got to generate that consistency. This is a key time of year to do it, and if you don't, you're going to find it really, really difficult when you get to March, April, when again there's another cluster of games. You're going to find it very difficult to make up the points, because you're going to be 9 or 10 points off the top two by that point. Because as I say, you've not generated that consistency back in the festive period. It's a really important time to do it, and they're not. They keep shooting themselves in the foot. Do a very, very Leeds thing, as you said.
Yeah, it's very Leeds, isn't it? Just repeatedly shooting themselves in the foot. They've beaten Ipswich twice and Leicester this season, convincingly as well, weren't they? They were the much better team in all 3 of those games, so we know what they're capable of. However, they've won just 2 points from games against Sheffield Wednesday, Rotherham, Stoke, and now a Preston side who have been in terrible form. Now, I know you can't win every game, but why is it there's two sides to this Leeds team? Because they can be exceptional, but they can also look really flat. And that's why, for me, I'm becoming increasingly less convinced about them catching Ipswich, Justin, but just because the consistency isn't there with this Leeds team.
I think their style of play doesn't help because they are a very, very good counter-attacking team. And if you're playing against a team who, are quite comfortable in handling a counter-attack, i.e. playing deep like a Sheffield Wednesday, like a Preston did in this game, you're going to find it difficult to break down, which is why Daniel Farke's got to not coach a different style of play, but have answers to that. And he hasn't had that yet. They're very much suited to a team who are going to play on the front foot, like an Ipswich, like a Leicester, because they can exploit space in behind, like Southampton as well. They can exploit space in behind. They can't do that against a deep block, which is what these teams... That's been a common theme of the poor Leeds results this season, is they've come up against teams who have played a deep block, not been able to break them down. And that's a key thing that Daniel Farke has got to try and get the better of, because if they don't, they're not going to get anywhere near the top two.
Yeah, he's got to remedy it quickly, hasn't he? Because Leeds can't afford too many more slip-ups like this. Liam Miller scored the winner for Preston. What a goal that was as well. He was a thorn in Leeds' side all afternoon. And he is one of those players who's a bit hit and miss, but when he's on it, he is such a thrilling player to watch for Preston this season, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a live wire when he's on it. Balls stick to him, and his delivery can be excellent as well. I think the only issue is we've got is, are we seeing the best out of him positionally? I think playing at left wing back, doing a really good job, and his performances at left wing back have been excellent. But can we see more of him if he plays further forward? It might be something that Ryan Lowe needs to tinker with. But he has had games where he has played further forward and not quite delivered. And his best performances, as I say, have come at left wing back. But yeah, he's a player that this Preston team does need, because I've said before, it does lack creativity. So when you've got a player who can turn the game on its head with that ball that he played in for Alan Brown, and obviously his goal as well, they need more players like that in that Preston team.
Well, I remember us being very impressed with him on his debut against Plymouth back in September, and we said he could be an important player for them because he looked so exciting, he looked like he gave Preston a bit of an X factor in that final third.
Yeah.
And then he's not really done much since then. However, if you saw him in just this game in isolation without any context, you'd be thinking he's one of the best players in the Championship. So that's what he's capable of. We just need to see it a bit more often for him to be, one of those players who really is one of the best in the division in terms of, running at defenders and making things happen. Wouldn't surprise me if he gets a bit of interest in January, actually, because I think he's only on loan, isn't he, from Basel in Switzerland. So I think there may be a few suitors looking at him. In the battle of the two most handsome managers in the Championship, Southampton smashed Swansea 5-0. Of course, Russell Martin against his former club. Don't think he's regretting that decision to leave based off this game. But a very impressive showing by Saints. Southampton's second goal was very funny. A complete disaster at the back by Swansea. Perfectly highlighted by Carl Rushworth doing the funniest air kick you may see all season. Some very well taken goals in there as well, to give them their full credit. Justin, I have been joking a lot recently about Southampton feeling like they're destined to finish fourth, and now I'm thinking maybe they're not, because they've now moved ahead of Leeds and are only 5 points behind Ipswich. So what do you think? Have I perhaps been harsh and they are more of a top two contender than we've given them credit for?
Fuck yeah, I don't know why you said it, to be honest. I think maybe there's a stronger case for them to be a top two contender, and I probably should have called you out on it a lot sooner and a lot stronger than I have done, because they...
All right, Captain Hindsight. This is all big talk from you all of a sudden. In fairness, Justin, it did look for quite a long time that Southampton just weren't as good as Leeds, Ipswich and Leicester, did it?
Yeah, I think it's a fair case to make, but if you take August and September out of the equation, Southampton have been arguably the second, third best team in the league. They've been more consistent than Leeds have, especially in their results, and they're obviously not losing games as well, which is a very good habit to have. They've got momentum, they've got plenty of quality. Russell Martin has sorted those defensive issues he had in August and September. Big holes in their midfield. They're a lot more compact, a lot more difficult to break down. It feels like the squad is quite nicely balanced. It's very, very happy as well. You're looking at Ryan Fraser's impact coming off the bench, an example. He's, when you got subs that are happy to, well, not happy to, but content with being on the bench and coming on and making an impact. It's it's a very good indicator of where the squad's at. And they're beating teams that they should be beating, which we're not seeing with Leeds, barring one or two hiccups, of course. But yeah, I think they probably need to put a lot more respect on Southampton, because they are giving Ipswich a lot more of a thought or a thorn in the side than Leeds have done so far this season.
Yeah, well, I think you're absolutely fair, Justin. In my mind, for some reason, I can't picture Southampton finishing ahead of Ipswich or even Leeds. However, I struggle to explain why, because they are clearly very good. 16 games unbeaten now, so that's evidence that they're more consistent than Leeds are. Only the top two have scored more goals than them, and they've only conceded 9 goals in the last 15, which is the best in the division. In that time, I think Taylor Harwood-Bellis's addition has really helped with that. And they've clearly got one of the best squads in the league. Just look at the team. So I don't know why I've got it in my mind that they won't finish above Ipswich or Leeds, because they seem to be at a similar level to them, don't they?
Yeah, well, exactly. And as I say, it's that consistency that they've been able to do, and when they haven't played well, they still haven't lost as well. That's a key thing. They're good at breaking teams down. They're patient with the ball, and they're not going to take unnecessary risks. I think that's a big thing. Okay, it can be a bit boring sometimes under Russell Martin, but I'd rather be a little bit boring and get results than be a little bit more heavy metal and maybe lose a game 2-1 against Preston, for example. It's a big thing when you're chasing automatic promotion, and Russell Martin seems to have got the balance and blend quite nicely at the moment.
Yeah, perhaps it's because they haven't had too many wow performances. I mean, this win against Swansea definitely was a wow performance. It also seemed like Southampton, though, are steadily getting better and better. And that's quite worrying if you're an Ipswich Town or Leeds United fan. Swansea is 17th after this thumping. It's not all bad, though. They have Alan Sheehan in charge, and he is a very handsome man. Justin, let's take a quick break. After that, we'll talk about a surprising scoreline at Vicarage Road, and we'll have a look at the relegation battle. Welcome back to the Second Tier podcast. A bit of a surprising scoreline at Vicarage Road on Boxing Day. Watford won, Bristol City 4. Watford had only lost to Leicester and Ipswich since the start of October, so safe to say I wasn't expecting them to get thumped like this, but that's exactly what's happened. But look, they're flying all of a sudden, Bristol City, aren't they? 3 wins from 3. It's the first time they've won the 3 in a row in more than 3 years, and are now up to 8th. And it's the Liam Manning effect, Justin. It's underway.
The streakiness is over. We can. The curse has been lifted. The Lee Johnson curse has been lifted. Bristol City have generated some consistency for the first time in however many years. You say, yeah, I think it's been a remarkable turn of results for Liam Manning, because I don't think Bristol City have particularly dominated games. It's not a criticism. I think it's just a balance of the quality that they've got in the squad, and Liam Manning's tapping into it very, very slowly. I think that's a very good place to be. I think the crazy thing, though, I think Manning has shown at MK Dons and Oxford he can be a slow starter, mostly in his performances. Don't think we've yet seen the control that his teams like to have in games. I don't think we've seen the passing potential that his teams can have in games from that point of view. And once that settles, once it starts to click, I think we'll see a lot more clean sheets, a lot more control in those games, and maybe the games that they do play will become a lot less like tennis games at times. But for me, they've got a squad that's capable of pushing for the top 6. Top 6 might be a push. Or finishing in the top 6 might be a push, but they've certainly got a squad capable of finishing in around it and asking those questions. And I think Liam Manning's looking at that and tapping into the quality of this squad.
Yeah, spot on, Justin. Absolutely spot on. And this is the point we were making all along with Nigel Pearson. Yes, he did a decent job in the time that he was there. He, did what he was asked of in the time that he was at Bristol City. Yeah. But a more progressive manager could lead to them having a decent crack at the playoffs, and that's what we're seeing now. It's a good, exciting young squad at Bristol City, certainly better than where it was in the table. Some very exciting players there, and yeah, it took a bit of time for Liam Manning to get them going, but they're going really, really well, and I won't be surprised to see them be quite active in January either. They're becoming increasingly more involved in the playoff picture, aren't they? So it's exciting times at Ashton Gate, and let's see if they can continue this momentum and actually lay a pretty decent glove on the top 6, because there's quite a few teams having a good go at it, and as we'll always say, Justin, there's only seemingly 2 places available, with the top 4 pretty much being taken up by the current top 4. So it's going to be tough, but all they can do is just be still in reach in the second half of the season. The longer they're in reach, the more chance they've got. Let's discuss the relegation battle then after it got a right shake-up on Boxing Day. We'll begin with Huddersfield, who got just their third win in 17 games under Darren Moore by thumping Blackburn 3-0. Huddersfield scoring 3 and keeping a clean sheet. Bloody hell. Christmas miracle. A great Boxing Day for the Terriers, though. They won. QPR on Wednesday both lost. And it means they're now 5 points clear of the bottom 3. I'm not sure how they're 5 points clear when they've only won 3 games in 18. But the table is looking pretty good all of a sudden if you're a Huddersfield fan.
I think so, and I think a little bit of perspective is maybe needed for Huddersfield, because I know a lot of suggest that Darren Moore's not getting the right, the right chimes out of this Huddersfield squad, and who's going to other than the GOAT Neil Warnock. But to his credit, he's collected more points than Millwall, Birmingham, Preston, QPR, Sheffield Wednesday, and Rotherham during his time at Huddersfield. He's lost just 6 games, which is as many as Middlesbrough, which might not be a big thing because Middlesbrough have developed a good losing habit of late, but it just shows you where Huddersfield are at the moment. The squad isn't top half; it's not even mid-table. It's bottom half. They are where they should be. So, and he's getting more points than the rest of them. I think that's a pretty good place to be. And I think as well, if this game shows anything, it's that if it does click, if the attacking quality is blended nicely with the defensive quality that they do have. Matty Pearson, Michael Helleg, they're good players. Lee Nichols, when he's not making mistakes, he's a very good goalkeeper. They can frustrate teams and cause them problems. Bergsorg's one that he's a frustrating player to watch, but he's clearly a gem in that side, and they don't have too many, so you've got to tap into the quality that they have, and they did against Blackburn.
Yeah, I think you're right, Justin. Jack Rodoni as well is a very important player. He's one of the more talented ones in this squad, which is pretty poor, as we keep saying. And maybe them drawing all the time isn't actually a bad thing, because it's given them a bit of a cushion all of a sudden, hasn't it? But they are still a long way off safety. Don't make any mistake about that. And a busy January transfer window is imperative for them staying up. They need to sign quite a few players in January. But if they get to Jan with a nice big gap between them and the bottom 3, that will be huge. I just hope the owners don't look at that table and think, oh, we don't need to spend any money after all. We'll be fine, because they definitely won't. They need to bring in
they need money.
At least 5 players, I would say, in January. There's been talk of them getting Jordan Rhodes back from his loan at Blackpool, which could be interesting. He seems to have found the goal-scoring touch again all of a sudden. 15 goals in 19 down in League One, and they need a striker. So I'd be interested if that did happen, but it is quite a lengthy shopping list they've got down at Huddersfield. So, we shall see how they do in January. Rotherham got their first win under Liam Richardson by beating Middlesbrough 1-0. Not sure how they won it. They got absolutely battered and then scored from a wayward cross. That was their only shot on target, and it wasn't even an intended shot. And I think Michael Carrick said after the game, that was the first time I've ever had a football match where we lost without conceding a shot. Which is a great quote, isn't it? But a massive result for Rotherham. They're still bottom of the table, but it was starting to look like they could be cut adrift, but this win keeps them in touch. How do you rate their chances of staying up as things stand, Justin?
It's still slim. I don't want to shit on them post-Christmas and after a win as well, because this was the definition of smash and grab. If I was a 15-year-old once again playing FIFA and this happened to me, that controller's not making it after. He's not making it through the game, is it? Let's be honest, because you score from a cross. Your goalkeeper is arguably man of the match, and he's getting congratulated by his own players at the end of the game. Shows you and tells you where that game has gone. And for me, I think that's the key thing that Liam Richardson's got to improve. They've got to be better at creating their own chances. They've got to rely less on scoring crosses, which it's not going to happen every game. And they've really, really got to, and this is important, they've really, really got to tighten up, because as a side, they concede too many. They concede too many chances. Victor Janssen they're far too reliant on Victor Janssen, which, I mean, he's there to do a job, but he's really earning his pennies at the moment. And sure, if that improves, then I'll rate their chances highly. And I think Liam Richardson's the type of manager who can get more out of this team. But have they got enough to stay up? I still can't see it.
Did you smash many controllers when you were playing the PlayStation?
The PS3 controller, to its credit, was very robust. It was very, very robust. I've not had the temperament to do that to a PS4 or PS5 controller.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, they're expensive, aren't they?
Exactly.
I agree with you. I think Rotherham's chances of staying up are very slim still. They weren't playing very well at all under Matt Taylor, and you do well to find any Rotherham fan who genuinely thinks they've dramatically improved under Liam Richardson, because they haven't. If any Rotherham fan told you that, they'd be lying. They've actually been really poor so far under Richardson, and a very fluky win against Middlesbrough doesn't change that. So I seriously struggle to see them winning enough points to be higher than 3 other teams in the division. Of course, they've got January coming up, but they would need a dramatically good window to even give them a chance of staying up in my eyes. So ultimately, the squad is very poor. I don't think Liam Richardson's a good enough manager to make them play drastically better than they have done in the first half of the season. So that's why I would be amazed if Rotherham did stay up at this point. Don't want to completely rule them out, but it would be quite the turn for the books if they did manage to get out of the position they're currently in. Millwall got just their second win in 14 games after beating QPR 2-0. A big win for Joe Edwards. They had been struggling and have been looking over their shoulder a bit recently, so a huge result for him, particularly against a team below them in the bottom 3. QPR were flying initially under Marty Cifuentes, but it's now 3 losses in a row, only 1 goal scored in their last 4. Worrying, Justin.
Yeah, look, I think it's very telling of the squad for me. It doesn't have the right balance. It never did. Cifuentes did really well to ride a very positive, happy wave, but he's still got a lot of work to do. And look, there are still going to be bumpy times ahead for QPR, and obviously you've got January coming up. But for me, the squad is just too reliant on individuals. You know, Elias Chair and Chris Willock can be game-changing league, winning players on their day, if that makes sense. They've got the quality to really turn a game, is what I'm saying. It's very rare to find that in a team. Not saying QPR are going to win the league, but they're the sort of players that can win you a game and therefore win you a title. Is basically it. But at the end of the day, QPR have failed to score in 11 of the 24 games so far this season. It's not a Cifuentes problem. The squad is just imbalanced. Look at Lyndon Dykes. He confuses me as a player because he's always felt like a square peg at QPR because he'd never really played to his strengths, even under Gareth Ainsworth. And obviously, without the ball, they are a soft touch. And again, that's going to take a lot more than a month to address under Cifuentes, because under Ainsworth they were retreat, be deep, be compact, and it's a very hard habit to kick when you've been doing it for 6-7 months.
Yeah, the Marty party is in a bit of a lull right now, isn't it? They've been really poor in these 3 losses. It's a big contrast to those 3 wins when they were great, didn't they? The turnaround from
fantastic.
Those 3 wins to what we saw under Ainsworth was astonishing, and now it seems to have gone backwards. Going forwards, they have been so blunt. It's no surprise they've only scored 1 in 4. Lyndon Dykes has offered absolutely nothing, and creatively it's just Elias Chair, perhaps Kenneth Paul too, actually, but there hasn't been much else recently. So it's quite a worrying drop-off, and I'm still very much of the opinion that it's going to be 3 of QPR, Rotherham, Wednesday and Huddersfield who go down. Rotherham are looking more likely than the others at this stage, but it could very well go down to who does the best business in January, because they all need to strengthen pretty badly, and QPR are no different, are they?
No, and we saw the impact that Rotherham had last season. They signed Leo Helder, Sean Morrison, Jordan Hugo. They all came in last January and turned the team around. Having a good January, signing 3 or 4 really good individuals can really prop you up, and it is important. It's so important. It just depends if QPR have got any room to manoeuvre, because the noise from Gareth Ainsworth over the summer, they simply didn't. But they do need to address some imbalances and add some depth and quality to key areas, because as we know, this squad isn't quite good enough to sustain results, and it needs to.
Yeah, and we will keep saying this QPR squad is probably quite clearly the best out of the teams in the bottom 4 at the moment, but they still have to do some business, because particularly going forwards they've looked so so poor recently. Sheffield Wednesday remains second bottom after losing 2-0 away at Coventry. Back-to-back losses for Wednesday. They gave a decent showing here, though. Definitely didn't roll over in this one. Coventry up to 13th now. 18 points from an available 27, going very well on Mark Robbins' boys. Tatsuhiro Sakamoto's in brilliant form. 2 goals for him here. A very fun player to watch at Coventry. Elsewhere, Mick Beale got his first win as Sunderland boss. They won 1-0 away at Hull. A great win for him. He's obviously started under a lot of pressure with fans. Not particularly enamoured with his appointment, even more so after getting spanked by Coventry in his first game, but this eases the pressure. Jude Bellingham in the crowd for this one again, watching his brother. He'll become Sunderland's #1 fan if he keeps this up. There was also a first win for Steven Schumacher as Stoke boss. They won 3-1 away at Birmingham. Stoke's first win in 10, so a cracking result with Schumacher at the wheel and to get him off the mark. Birmingham now 19th. They were 5th when Wayne Rooney took over 2 months ago. In that time, they've won the fewest points in the division, and there were loud boos at the full-time whistle with the Birmingham fans that was still there, and you feel like this can't go on for much longer, surely. Justin, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I do want to ask. You mentioned that you're very confident it's going to be 3 of 4 teams of Rotherham, QPR, Huddersfield, Sheffield Wednesday to go down. At what point do we become worried about Birmingham City under Wayne Rooney?
Yeah, I think Birmingham are in the category of Millwall, Stoke. These teams who have just been playing pretty crap all season. And yes, Birmingham just seem to be on this massive slide. However, I personally struggle to see them finishing below the current bottom 4 because as poor as they have been recently, you know, that squad is still pretty talented. And I also get the sense that Wayne Rooney isn't longing for this job, and they will get someone else in who you'd have thought would be doing a bit better than how they're doing now.
I think it'll be harder to sack Rooney, mainly because he's Gary Cook's mate. But I think an interesting point that you brought in is Stoke and Millwall have made good managerial appointments. Birmingham have made a managerial appointment, and it's not worked. So yeah, Millwall and Stoke have got that upward momentum, whereas Birmingham are flatlined and they're dropping, and that's a worry for me.
Okay, well, of course it's a worry, Justin. It's without a doubt a worry, but you'd have thought that Birmingham would have enough sense about them to accept soon that this experiment isn't working and it's time to get someone else in to save their season, because these Birmingham owners are going to look like absolute tits if they get relegated after making this appointment. I mean, you could make a good argument that they already do, but they'd be looking like even bigger tits, wouldn't they, if they ended up getting relegated. But as I say, I would still be quite surprised at this stage for that to actually happen, no matter how poor they've been recently. Brandon Thomas' Asante goal saw West Brom beat Norwich 1-0. Norwich were down to 10 men for nearly an hour after Boya Sainz was given a second yellow, so always going to be a bit difficult for them to get back into this after West Brom scored. West Brom stay 5th with a 3-point cushion inside the top 6. And the final game of the weekend, Cardiff 2, Plymouth 2, a double for Morgan Whittaker, 12 goals for the season for him. What a season he's having. The latest, why are you pulling that face?
The Plymouth own goal. You've got to mention the Plymouth own goal.
Okay, go on. Tell the listeners about it.
This is peak. This is peak own goals and gaffes. And we don't see it very often. I feel like we've seen it a couple of times already. But I can't remember. I think it was Matt Butcher played a pass back to Mike Cooper, the Plymouth goalkeeper, who's nowhere near his goal. And it goes straight past him. And he's scrambling, and eventually it goes in. It's comical. It's comical own goal. You've got to watch it.
It was Connor Hazard, actually, the goalkeeper for Plymouth, but still fantastic watching him frantically scramble back in slow motion.
It's always good to watch it. It's always good to watch that. No, it doesn't matter who it is.
The thing is, I saw it on a Soccer Saturday. I was watching all the goals on there, and I knew the goal had gone in, but for a split second I thought, he's going to get there, he's going to get there. Oh no, he isn't. Oh yeah, he is. And then it just slowly crawled over the line. It was good stuff. I enjoyed that.
That Christmas dinner weighing heavy on him, that's what it was.
Yeah, he's had a few too many celebrations, hasn't he? Gus Poyet is the latest bookies' favourite to beat Plymouth's new manager, which would be interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but they've had a few managers linked with them over the past few days, so we'll wait and see who actually comes in. Let's have a look ahead to the games on Friday then, Justin. So in each preview episode of the second tier, Justin and I will each pick a banker, a team we think is guaranteed to win this coming weekend, as well as an outsider, so someone we think is going to win, but is bigger odds with the bookies than their opponents. We're tracking how we do as the season goes on. It's 1 point for a correct banker, 2 points for an outsider. Whoever loses has to do a forfeit, which will be a CrossFit workout for myself. Justin will be doing a coach trip from Sunderland to Plymouth and back. The current scores are 29-19 to myself after I got a full house in the games just before Christmas. Justin only got his banker correct. A 10-point lead, Justin. Wow.
We've seen teams drop leads like this in the league. It can be done. It can be a Derby in the 14-15 season with top league by quite a way and bottled it. It can happen. It can happen.
I appreciate your optimism because I think maybe you should start looking on National Express now. You could probably get a good price if you book it early. Justin, what's your banker for the weekend?
I've gone with
Friday even.
Yeah, well, it's still the weekend. Ipswich to win at home to QPR. It seems a pretty straightforward one. Ipswich are very good at not dropping points at home, and QPR become very shy in front of goal and also picking up 3 points. So you'd expect Ipswich to exploit that.
Could Ipswich finally keep a clean sheet? Justin Peach will be amazed if it does happen.
I tell you what, if they keep a clean sheet and don't win, I'm going to put my fist through my laptop.
Fantastic. My banker for Friday is Southampton to beat Plymouth at home. We spoke about them earlier. Southampton are flying. Plymouth yet to win an away game this season, so this one seems pretty straightforward from my perspective. My outsider is Sheffield Wednesday to win away at Preston. It was a great win for Preston against Leeds, but I'm not sure that's necessarily a corner turned for them. Of course, they have struggled quite a bit recently. Sheffield Wednesday have lost 3 of the last 4, but have been unlucky. So completely feasible that they could get a win here. And what's your outsider, Justin?
Bristol City to win away at Birmingham. Bristol City cooking under Liam Manning. Wayne Rooney serving up raw food on a weekly basis at Birmingham.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised to see Birmingham were the favourites for that one. So good pick from you, Peachy. Now it's time for this.
Scott High or Ryan Lowe?
Your best is fucking shit, mate.
Yes, it's time for Scott High or Ryan Low. This is the game where we have to rank 4 things from highest to lowest. It's as simple as that. There's 3 questions, and this week Justin is providing the questions to me. So what have you got for me, Justin Peach, you bastard?
I want you to rank the former Birmingham managers by their win percentages. The managers are Gianfranco Zola, Wayne Rooney, Lee Clark and Steve Cotterill.
Don't Rooney and Zola have the same win percentage?
It came up different when I searched.
Did you look
last
before
night.
the Stoke game?
No, I looked after.
Okay. Fine. Sorry, could you just read them out to me again?
Zola, Rooney, Clark, and Cotterill.
Okay. I'll go Cotterill, because I can't really recall how he did at Birmingham. It's quite a forgetful spell, but I'll go with him just on pure ignorance, yeah. Then I'll go Clark, because he didn't do very well, but I don't think it was as terrible as the other 2. And then I thought Zola and Rooney had the same win percentage, but maybe not, so I'll go Zola, Rooney?
I do think it's not just league form, I think it's combined.
Cup as well.
Yeah.
Fine. I'll put Rooney just above Zola then.
Okay. So you've gone with Cotterill, Clark, Rooney, Zola.
Correct.
It's just the front 2 actually. Lee Clark's first. Lee Clark's first with 28%. Steve Cotterill with 21%. Wayne Rooney says he's got 18% and Zola's 15%.
Yeah, I think Zola might have had a cup game in there as well, which he lost. Because otherwise their records are quite staggeringly similar compared to how they've done so far.
Quick fun fact for you as well, or not a fun fact if you're a Birmingham fan. Birmingham have not had a manager to hit 40% a 40% win rate of their game since Chris Hughton, who left in 2012.
Fucking hell. Jesus Christ. Okay, Justin, what's the next one?
The next one is rank the teams who had the best starts after 24 games. So I've got Wolves 17-18, the Nuno Espirito Santos season. Sheffield United over the 05-06 season. Reading of the 05-06 season. And Newcastle of the 16-17 season.
Okay, I'll go straight on at this. Reading, Wolves, Newcastle, or was it Newcastle? Newcastle,
Yes,
Sheffield United.
yeah, 16-17, not 09-10 or
Yeah,
08.
I'll knock Newcastle in there and then Sheffield United.
Oh, I thought you were cooking then. You were
don't
just off. You got Sheffield United and Newcastle the other way round. So Reading are of course top, 59 points after 24 games. Wolves are then second, 55 points after 24 games. Then it's Sheffield United, 53 points after 24 games. Incredible 05-06 season that was. And then Newcastle, who had 51 points after 24 games.
So I've been one off in both the questions so far.
Yeah, you are close. Maybe, just maybe, the final question will see you over the line.
I bloody hope so, because this is so frustrating.
Yes.
Go on.
I don't think it will. But I want you to rank the most watched TV shows / films on Christmas Day this year. So this is just
any
pop
telly
up.
on Christmas Day this year, actually.
No, I don't think we did that either. Anyway, so your choices are Toy Story, Strictly Come Dancing, The King's Speech, not the film, the King making his speech.
Thank you.
Because that will get confusing. And EastEnders, the Christmas special.
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a very good question, actually, Justin. Fair play to you. I'll go King's Speech. It's only 15 minutes, guys.
It's 15 minutes.
Is it 15 minutes or 10 minutes? It's not long, is it? So
Anything over 5, I'm switching off.
It's dreadfully boring, but I'm surely people will have tuned in for that. Then Toy Story, EastEnders,
Toy Story 4.
Toy Story 4, good
Yeah.
film. All the Toy Stories are class, to be fair, aren't they? I'll go Strictly, EastEnders, Toy Story 4.
Holy shit, you've done it.
Have I?
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
I did not expect you to get it. Yes, The King's Speech. 5.9 million viewers.
Appalling. Show more respect to our king.
Good old sausage hands. Strictly was 5.3 million. EastEnders dropping, it seems, to 3.6 million. And then Toy Story, just a measly 3.5 million.
I didn't realise it was on. It's a great film, though. Fantastic film.
It is a great film. I didn't watch it either, so I can't really complain here. But Toy Story 4 is a good end to the saga for me.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on in EastEnders anymore. Is Archie still about?
Who's Archie?
Archie, I think he got killed on one Christmas
I don't know.
Day.
Who's the actor who plays Archie?
Larry Lamb?
No, I don't know. I
think he's been out of it for a few years now. So that shows how much I've been paying attention to EastEnders, ladies and gentlemen. That's been Scott High or Ryan Lowe. This has been the Second Tier Podcast, and this has been our review of everything that kicked off on Boxing Day. We'll be back again on, I'm getting my days mixed up now. Is it Saturday? Yeah, because we've got games on Friday, and then Justin's shaking his head. He doesn't have a clue. So we've got games on the Friday, so we'll be next back on Saturday to round up all those games then. So we look forward to seeing you then. As always, if you wouldn't mind giving us a 5-star review on whichever podcast platform you listen to us on, we will greatly appreciate it. This has been the Second Tier Podcast. We'll be back again on Saturday. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.